here's an exercise in glazing. It's an exercise in how much water, how to keep your colours incredibly light, how to layer one colour on top of another, which is what glazing is, of course. And I want to show you all the mistakes I made along the way to get to this point. So I'm going to start off by showing you those and then get straight into how I decided to measure out my watercolours really carefully. So what I decided to do was get a sheet of paper that is cold pressed. That was a good start, rather than when I used some hot press paper. Much harder to glaze on hot press paper and get beautiful glazes. And you can see in my palette I've got 4 little soy sauce dishes, which are absolutely perfect for sectioning out the same amount of water. I kept going too dark, even though, you know, I know what I'm doing. I kept going too dark, so I decided to get the soy sauce dishes out and exactly mix up. So into those 4 dishes I put the same amount of water, and then that first layer I've started with was quinacridone gold, which is an excellent base layer. It's transparent, it's going to allow you to glaze over the top because it sinks into the paper quite well. And the second colour that I'm coming in with now is alizarin crimson. So again, it's beautiful and transparent. Well, that particular one is, and I'm making it kind of orange. So you can see on my page I've got a shell there, and I'm using the shell as my colour inspiration. I've got 3 little polished stones, and then the shell is both a shape that I can use as inspiration, plus that's where I got my colour ideas from. So that's why I've gone from the quinacridone gold into an orange, which is quinacridone gold with a little bit of alizarin crimson, which we all know is just a kind of beautiful red. I'm being really fast. When I was teaching in the classroom, I would say to students who are first learning to paint an area exactly as I'm doing now, and to paint it evenly, I would tell them, don't do what I'm doing in this video. I wouldn't say outline and then fill in the rest. I would say start on one edge and keep going to the other edge. But once you've got a beautiful brush that you are really familiar with, so I'm really familiar with the amount of water that this brush picks up and releases, and you can see also that I'm fast. So with these stones, I'm just using them as little shapes for inspiration, though as I go on you'll find that the shapes are pretty similar, but it doesn't matter. The point is the shape just provides me with a little bit of inspiration to change the shape each time. So I'm coming in here with burnt sienna. Now, burnt sienna can be transparent, and that particular burnt sienna comes from Holbein, and Holbein make a transparent burnt sienna, so it is beautifully transparent. But in reality, any watercolor paint, apart from Chinese white, which I really don't think is a watercolor paint myself, every watercolor paint is transparent. That's why it's watercolor. It's a transparent medium. So the third colour was burnt sienna, and now I'm mixing up a grey. So again, I looked at the shell and I could see there were lots of greys mixed in with those browns. So at first I mixed up burnt sienna with ultramarine blue, but I remembered that ultramarine blue is quite opaque, that particular one that I've been using there. It's a Daniel Smith ultramarine blue. So I switched to phthalo. So I came up with quite a lovely brownish grey. But the reason I switched to phthalo is, firstly, it's a beautiful staining pigment, and secondly, I did come up with a kind of grey. So as soon as you mix a brown with a grey, then a brown with a blue, you come up with some sort of grey. There I am filling in that section, and I'm doing it so quickly that you cannot see the stripes. And so quickly, in fact, that you could see that I could repair the edge of that shape. I was really aiming to keep each of these shapes beautifully transparent. not beautifully transparent, beautifully straight. I didn't want any rough edges. I wanted to keep them beautifully smooth, because I thought that would go nicely with the transparent work that I was doing. So you'll see that really I'm repeating over and over in each one, but I made each little design a little differently. What I've skipped over at this point is me deciding, oh, will I put the shape this way, that way? I've also skipped over very quickly where I dried it very thoroughly in between, and I'll show you those little drying moments each time, but basically every time I am glazing, as in putting a color on top of another color, I dry it off really well. I use a heat gun because I find it incredibly fast. So now I'm including some of the moments where I took the shape and I would decide, does it go this way, does it go that way, should I change it, should I include that little point? And that just gave me enough inspiration each time to change the shape just a little bit. So you'll see that I'm picking up one stone, then the next stone, then the shell, and I vary it round and round. I think that just gives a little bit of variation to each of these shapes. And then I can come in and glaze again. What I did multiple times, in a moment you'll see me doing it, is glazing the grey on top of the grey, because I found the grey was just so beautiful, beautifully transparent. So I had tipped out the colour that was in one of the trays, re-added water and made it more transparent again. So those colours are incredibly transparent, and that's the point of this exercise, is that you can get more and more transparent colours, but you don't increase the intensity. But you don't increase the intensity at any point. You just keep it all light, and you just keep going over and over in the same on the same little artwork. I chose these shapes on purpose because I am not entering exhibitions anymore. I pretty much stopped exhibiting, and I'm still teaching here and there, but I've stopped a lot of that as well. So the reason why they're small is because what I sell a lot of are cards, and I use these little watercolors to decorate journals, and I hand make a lot of journals, and I use them as covers, and they really add something delightful that you just wouldn't get anywhere else. So that's why I've chosen that lovely small series of shapes, those 4 that I've divided it into. But if you love this exercise and you're still wanting to exhibit or sell, then you could so do a beautiful version of this and go a bit larger. The other reason I stopped exhibiting was the cost of framing. I got really sick of having to pay for all those frames all the time. And inevitably at exhibitions, one might sell and you bring home another one. I got really sick of that as well. I really enjoyed those moments when you'd drop off some artworks and they'd ring you and you wouldn't have to go back. That was absolutely wonderful, but really that rarely happened. You nearly always had to go back and pick up one of the others, and I just got sick of paying for it and then bringing it home and finding some space on my walls to hang another artwork that I'd had professionally framed. So yeah, I've gotten sick of exhibiting, but I really still love sharing all of my ideas, and so this YouTube channel is such a wonderful outlet for me. I've also started going on more little weekend retreats, so that's been really lovely, and connecting with some artists that I love and just sharing knowledge that way. That's been really, really satisfying. So the journals that I've been making with these watercolor paintings have been selling really well, so that's been exciting. I'm going to be stopping selling on my website soon as well. I'm really paring down in all those things that take time out from my creation, and I'm just spending more and more time creating. So I'm keeping my YouTube channel so that I can continue to share my ideas, because I really, really love it. It's really delightfully satisfying to do. If you make a comment, I so appreciate it. It makes a world of difference to me. I'm putting in a few more moments here that I'd cut out earlier, like the way I'm loading my brush. You could see there that I dip it completely into the paint. I stir it around, and I'm doing that every time, dipping in so that it's moving, because the pigments can settle. Not all of them do, but a lot of them do. So I'm spending time dipping into it and remixing the colors over and over and over again. Look how beautifully that gray is making a soft, beautiful color. I've stuffed that one up, but I've got just enough time to go over those little bits and get rid of them. But every single time when I'm glazing, I go in and try so hard to put the color on and go paint, paint, paint and be done. So I really try hard not to go in and correct. Sometimes I am correcting because I don't want the edge of the shape to be rough, but nearly always, if I can, if I'm satisfied with the color, then I go in, I do the glaze, I get out. Again, I'm coming in and drying. I'm sped this drying process up every time, because you know what that's like. You don't need to see me drying ever so carefully. And I'm trying to make shorter videos because I'm finding that they're a bit more popular. If you have an opinion about how long the videos go for and what you're more likely to watch, I would so appreciate hearing that. I did put out a really short video last week, and it's gone brilliantly, and it probably only goes for about 5 minutes. It's about the difference between burnt sienna and burnt umber. So I don't know if it was the subject or the length of the video that made it do really, really well. Either way, I'm going to experiment now with shortening my videos. At first I was leaving in all the details, and then I took them out, and I'm talking about my video editing here. So I'm just always experimenting with what you guys want. So if you are free, if you have a moment to give me a comment and give me some feedback, I absolutely would love it. So in a moment, I'm going to skip to, I'm nearly at the end of the glazing here. I'm checking with the edge of my hand to double check that it's dry enough. Even though I dried it, I still want to know that it's beautifully dry between every single glaze. In a moment, I'm going to show you the two areas that in a moment, I'm going to show you the two paintings that I did in the lead up to putting this one together. So I had an idea that I got from a painting that I saw that had objects stacked, and it was a watercolor, and they were beautifully transparent. So I attempted that, and it didn't work. So, you know, that was many months ago. And then I came back in with another version in the last couple of days, and it worked. It half worked. So that's when I had realized I need to be really particular about using these little soy sauce dishes to control the paint. You can't, I found I couldn't do it in this palette without mixing up exacting amounts.